Hello YouTube, De-bodgery here. This is an RV160SH set up in Y and wound for 6 turns for just about 80 kV. And this is a Nucular 24 FET controller, and here's the LCD. So I'm going to go through a few settings in here in this video, basically the LCD. And then my next video, I'm going to go through the controller settings. So anyway, here is the LCD. First thing I want to point out is the layout on here. So you've got volts, amps, you've got battery, this is regen, here's controller temp, here's motor temp down here, miles per hour, things like that. Okay, this layout can be changed, and I'll get to that in a minute. So I'm going to hit this button over here. Oh, I guess before I do that, let me go back. Alright, so the first thing I want to show you is on the back over here, there is a little button. So right here under your right index finger is where it is, and that does this. Turns it off. Now it's off, hit it again, now it's back on. So that's your enable disable right there, right behind that blue front button. Pretty easy to find, you can just feel it with your finger. Okay, so now let's go into settings. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is go into onboard computer. That's the LCD. And I'm going to hit green button, say select. Alright, so first thing is information, and it's just giving you some basic information about what the LCD is seeing. Nothing in here to change, just stuff to look at. Mostly you'll ignore it. Okay, when you make a change, and this is true for the controller and the LCD, make sure you do a save. Because if you don't, you turn things off, turn it back on again, your settings go bye-bye. So do a save, and that way they become permanent. And that's super easy. Save, saved. In this case, I'll show you the one for the controller later. Alright, so main screen setup is the next option. Okay, the things that you might possibly change in here is you're in the USA, probably miles per hour is what you're going to do. If you're someplace else in the world, like say Europe and Asia and so on, you're probably going to want to set that to kilometers per hour. I'm in the US, so guess what? I'm not setting this to. Anyway, a little further down. Now I mentioned the theme. That's right here. So right now I've got it set to the Herma style. That's that. You know, it's got the 2 bars around the outside of it. And if I change that to something else, like say Vit style, and let's back out. See, it looks different. So set it to whichever theme works for you. Alright, so back in again, and let's go back down there to main screen setup and set that bad boy to the next one. So Vasily SK style. Save that. Well, I haven't saved it actually. I'm just setting it temporarily. Go back out and see it looks different again. Okay, go back on board and down to, whoops, passed it up. There we go. In theme, pick another one, and I think that's it. So Vasily SK, Vits, and Herma. That's the 3 options. I like Herma, so there you go. Set if you don't, if you want, don't if you don't. Okay, so quick stats and demo mode, I leave those off, don't care. Next thing, button color and brightness. Yes, if red, blue, and green aren't your thing, you can change them. Because these buttons have RGB LEDs underneath them. Screen backlight. So this one might be useful to you. Alright, so right now the backlight is set to 250 as its maximum. And I've also got auto bright setup turned on. Let's get out of that one. So, oops, sorry, it is turned off. I picked the wrong option. Up, back in, auto, that one right there, on, thank you. Alright, so what that means is there's a little light sensor right up in here, and with that on, the LCD detects the brightness around you and adjusts the LCD brightness to kind of respond to that. So I cover that bad boy up, and as you can see, it's getting darker. Take my finger back off, and it lightens back up again. So there you go, that's on. Okay, now that I made that change, I should make sure I do a save. But I'm not quite done yet. So, button setup, you can change what each button does. Leave them alone. That's good enough. Maybe you think that there's too much background or you need more background. You want to change the contrast. That's right here. Data sources. You're going to leave that alone. Do not screw with this. You might change wheel circumference. Maybe. But I doubt it. Okay, LCD heater. If you are in really cold environments, the LCD won't work. So it'll suck down the battery a little bit, but it'll keep the LCD warm for you. How spiffy is that? Okay, security. Maybe you might want to change this. Maybe you won't. But if you turn that on and then you set a password, then you can do a sequence on the buttons to enable or disable things. You know, so that you can't go in and screw with settings. Okay, update software. There is an SD card or a micro SD card in the slot, and it has display firmware on it, so that's why all that stuff passed. But we don't need to do that because it's got the current one on here. Last thing is you screwed it up, or second to last thing, you screwed it up, and oh my god, it looks like shit. I can't make anything work right on the LCD. Do a load default settings. There you go. Finally, the last option, device info. And here you get to see the version of the firmware in this LCD, namely 0.59B, which is the latest one. So anyway, you're good to go. And that is everything on the LCD. So there we are, back at the home screen again. Okay, next video I will do controller setup.